Welcome to the Battleground Chronicles World War II channel. Subscribe to our channel because every day we publish stories about the valor of American soldiers based on real events. Support us. Like our videos if you like what we do for you. December 16, 1944. 0530. The Ardennes Forest, Belgium. The temperature reads 14 degrees Fahrenheit as the first German artillery shells crash through the silence of the pre-dawn darkness. A massive barrage stretches for nearly 80 miles along the Allied front, shaking the earth and shattering the calm winter landscape. Hitler's desperate last gamble, Operation Watch on the Rhine, has begun. Within hours, over 200,000 German soldiers and 1,800 tanks will push through the dense forest, creating a massive bulge in the Allied lines. Their target, the port city of Antwerp. Standing in their way, a small Belgian town at the junction of 7 vital roads, Bastogne. A light snow falls as the men of the 101st Airborne Division, nicknamed the Screaming Eagles, climb aboard open trucks at their rest camp in Mormallon-le-Grand, France. They are still recuperating from the brutal fighting in Holland during Operation Market Garden. Many soldiers have packed for Paris leave, not for combat. Few have proper winter clothing. None know they are about to face one of the most brutal sieges in military history. Private William Smith huddles in the back of the truck, his breath forming clouds in the freezing air. "Where the hell are we going?" he asks, stamping his feet against the cold. "Someplace called Bastogne," says the sergeant. "Germans broke through the line. Big counteroffensive." "Christ," mutters Smith, "and they couldn't wait until spring?" The sergeant laughs humorlessly. "Yeah, well, tell that to Hitler. I hear he's real accommodating." Smith pulls his thin jacket tighter. "What about our winter gear?" "What winter gear?" another soldier chimes in. "This is the Army, remember? We're lucky they gave us boots." The convoy of the 101st Airborne stretches for miles, grinding through the night over icy roads. The men shiver in open trucks as temperatures plummet and sleet begins to fall. Many wear only their standard-issue uniforms, lacking proper winter gear. Their fingers grow numb, their feet freeze inside inadequate boots. Some will lose toes to frostbite before ever firing a shot. "I can't feel my goddamn feet," Private Rodriguez says, his voice trembling. "How are we supposed to fight if we can't even walk?" "Crawl," says Corporal Miller grimly. "That's what they did at Valley Forge, right?" "This isn't a history lesson, Miller," snaps Lieutenant Jones from the front of the truck. "And we're not Washington's army." "No," Miller replies. "We're worse off. At least they had firewood." The men fall silent as the reality of their situation sinks in. The temperature continues to drop. The sleet turns to snow, accumulating on their helmets and shoulders. No one brushes it away. The layer of snow provides at least some insulation against the bitter wind. "My brother fought in North Africa," Private Wilson whispers after a while. "Said the heat there was unbearable. Men passing out from sunstroke, water rationing." "What's your point?" Rodriguez asks. "Just thinking maybe he had it better," Wilson replies, his teeth chattering. "At least you can strip down in the heat. Can't put on what you don't have." "Shut up about the cold," Sergeant Collins orders from nearby. "Talking about it only makes it worse." No one argues, but they all know it's a lie. Nothing could make this worse. Nothing except what awaits them at Bastogne. The convoy reaches Bastogne in the early hours of December 19. The situation is already dire. German forces are closing in from multiple directions. The town's defense falls to Brigadier General Anthony McAuliffe, the division artillery commander temporarily leading the 101st in the absence of General Maxwell Taylor. "They're coming from all sides, sir," reports Colonel Harper as McAuliffe sets up his command post in Bastogne. "The 28th Infantry is falling back. They've been hit hard." "What's our strength?" McAuliffe asks. "About 11,800 men. We've got elements of the 10th Armored and the 705th Tank Destroyer Battalion with us." "And the Germans?" Harper hesitates. "Intelligence estimates 5-to-1 odds against us, sir." McAuliffe stares at the map. 7 roads leading into Bastogne. 7 routes the Germans could use to advance. 7 avenues that must be defended at all costs. "Then we'll just have to kill 5 times as many of them," McAuliffe says grimly. "Sir," Harper continues, lowering his voice. There's another problem. Most of our men arrived without proper winter equipment. No overcoats, no winter boots, limited rations. Medical supplies are critically low. McAuliffe's expression remains unchanged. We'll have to make do, Colonel. This position must be held, regardless of cost. Bastogne is the key to the entire German offensive. Outside, the snowfall intensifies. Visibility drops to near zero. The temperature continues to fall. One more thing, sir, Harper adds. Weather report indicates this front will hold for at least a week. No possibility of air support or supply drops. McAuliffe nods slowly. Then we're on our own, gentlemen. God help us all. The men of Easy Company, 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment, dig foxholes in the frozen ground of the Bois-Jacques forest, north of Bastogne. The earth resists their entrenching tools, rock hard and unyielding. Their breath creates ghostly plumes in the frigid air as they work. Many lack gloves. Their fingers bleed as they claw at the frozen soil. This is like digging into concrete, Private First Class Eugene Rowe says, his Louisiana accent thick with exhaustion. As the company medic, he knows what awaits them. Frostbite, trench foot, hypothermia, the slow killers that come before the bullets. Keep digging, Lieutenant Winters orders. These holes are the difference between living and dying. Nearby, Private Muck smashes his entrenching tool against the frozen ground, producing only a dull thud and a jarring pain up his arm. Jesus Christ, he hisses. It's like trying to dig through iron. Use your bayonet to break it up, suggests Private Pencala, demonstrating with his own knife. And dull my only weapon? No thanks, Muck replies. Your call, Pencala shrugs. But when the German 88s start falling, you'll wish you had something deeper than a goddamn dinner plate to hide in. Sergeant Lipton overhears and approaches. He's right, Muck. German artillery will tear you apart in a shallow hole. Dig now while you have the chance. With what, Sarge? My bare hands? Lipton stares at him, his face grave. If necessary. The seriousness in Lipton's voice silences further complaints. Muck returns to his digging with renewed determination, ignoring his bleeding fingers. By nightfall, they've established a thin defensive perimeter around the town. The temperature drops to -20 degrees Fahrenheit. Water freezes solid in canteens. K-rations become blocks of ice. Men huddle together in their foxholes, sharing body heat to survive the night. Remember Holland? Whispers Private John Julian to his foxhole partner. I thought that was bad. This is hell. Not yet, comes the reply, but it's coming. Julian shivers violently. How cold does it have to get before you just die? Don't think about it, his partner says. Talk about something else. Like what? I don't know. Home, girls, anything. Julian is silent for a moment. I can't remember what being warm feels like. Isn't that strange? I can't remember what it was like not to be cold. Like I've been cold my entire life. His partner shakes him roughly. Stop that kind of talk. That's how it starts. Your mind goes before your body. How what starts? Giving up. In another foxhole 50 yards away, Private Alley and Private Liebgott huddle under a shared blanket, taking turns on watch. You know what I keep thinking about? Alley says suddenly. What? Liebgott asks, his teeth chattering. My grandfather lost 2 toes to frostbite in the last war. Used to take his shoes off at family gatherings and show us the stumps. I thought it was the most horrible thing I'd ever seen. He laughs bitterly. Now I'd give anything to be sitting in that warm living room, looking at his mangled foot. Shut up about warm living rooms, Liebgott growls. Just shut up. Sorry, Alley mumbles. A long silence falls between them, broken only by the distant sound of German vehicles moving in the darkness. Hey, Liebgott, Alley whispers eventually. You still awake? Yeah. Make sure I don't fall asleep, okay? I've heard guys just don't wake up sometimes. I'll keep you awake, Liebgott promises. You do the same for me. Deal. Dawn breaks on December 20th, revealing a ghostly landscape shrouded in white. The forest is eerily silent, except for the distant rumble of German tanks. By noon, the last road into Bastogne is cut off. The 101st Airborne is now completely surrounded. Lieutenant Welsh assembles a patrol to probe the German lines. "We need to know what we're up against," he tells the assembled men. 5 volunteers. No one steps forward immediately. The prospect of leaving their foxholes, as miserable as they are, for the exposed forest seems suicidal. "Come on," Welsh urges. "I need 5 men." Finally, Sergeant Martin steps forward. "I'll go, sir." One by one, 4 others join him. Welsh nods grimly. "We leave in 10 minutes. Light packs, extra ammunition if you have it." As they prepare, Private Jenkins pulls Martin aside. "You're crazy, Sarge. It's a death sentence out there." "Probably," Martin acknowledges. "But if we don't know where they are, we're all dead anyway. At least wait until dark." "No time. They're moving into position now. We need to know where." Jenkins grips Martin's arm. "Just come back, okay? Don't make me dig your frozen ass out of a snowdrift." Martin forces a smile. "I'll do my best." The patrol moves out, 5 dark figures against the endless white. They disappear into the fog within minutes. 3 will return 4 hours later, frostbitten and shell-shocked. The other 2 are never seen again. In the aid station set up in Bastogne's church, medics work frantically to treat the growing number of casualties. Blood freezes on the floors. Morphine syrettes must be thawed in medics' mouths before they can be used. Outside, the bodies of the dead stiffen quickly in the extreme cold, their limbs frozen in grotesque positions. "We're running out of everything," reports Captain Jones, the medical officer. "Bandages, plasma, morphine, and we can't evacuate the wounded." The worst cases are laid near the altar. Their moans echo through the vaulted ceiling, a macabre chorus of suffering. A young soldier screams as gangrene spreads through his frostbitten feet. Another begs for water, his lips cracked and bleeding from dehydration. "Don't let me die here," he pleads, clutching at the medic's sleeve. "Not like this, not freezing to death in this goddamn place." The medic doesn't answer. He has no comfort to offer. A nurse, one of the few who didn't evacuate, approaches Captain Jones. "The man with the stomach wound," she says quietly. "He won't last the night." Jones nods. "Make him comfortable. We're out of morphine." Jones closes his eyes briefly. "Then hold his hand. Talk to him. Something. Anything." "What should I say?" "Lie," Jones replies bluntly. "Tell him he's going home. Tell him spring is coming. Tell him anything but the truth." In another corner, a soldier with severe frostbite in both feet watches in horror as the doctor examines him. "Am I going to lose them?" he asks, his voice barely above a whisper. The doctor doesn't look up. "We'll do what we can." "That's not an answer. Am I going to lose my feet?" The doctor meets his eyes finally. "If we don't get you evacuated soon, yes, probably." The soldier stares at the ceiling. "My father's a farmer. We work 40 acres in Iowa." "You'll still be able to—" "No," the soldier interrupts. "No, I won't. Just leave me alone." The doctor moves on to the next patient, another in an endless line of broken men. In the command post, McAuliffe studies the dwindling supplies. Ammunition, critical shortage, food, 3 days at best, medical supplies, nearly gone, and the weather prevents any airdrops. Cloud cover and fog have grounded all Allied aircraft. "We need to conserve ammunition," he tells his staff. "Every shot must count." Artillery officer Captain King shakes his head. "Sir, we're already down to a few rounds per gun." McAuliffe's expression doesn't change. "Then we wait until we see the whites of their eyes." Colonel Sink clears his throat. "General, we need to discuss the possibility of a fighting withdrawal." The room falls silent. The suggestion borders on insubordination. McAuliffe studies Sink's face for a long moment before responding. "There will be no withdrawal, Colonel. Is that understood?" "Yes, sir, but—" "No buts. We were sent here to hold Bastogne, and that's precisely what we're going to do. Even if it means the loss of the entire division," Sink presses. "If necessary, yes," McAuliffe says firmly. "But I don't believe it will come to that. The Germans are overextended. Their supply lines are stretched thin. and Patton's Third Army will be fighting to reach us. We just have to hold out until they arrive. And if they don't arrive in time, McAuliffe places his finger on Bastogne's position on the map. Then we'll die here, Colonel. But the German advance will die with us. The German artillery begins methodically pounding the American positions. Tree bursts, shells exploding in the treetops, send deadly wooden splinters and metal fragments raining down on the men in their foxholes. The forest itself becomes a weapon, with splinters as lethal as bullets. "Keep your heads down," shouts Sergeant Lipton as another shell explodes overhead, sending a shower of frozen wood fragments into their position. A private screams as a 4-inch splinter pierces his cheek, lodging in his mouth. "Medic! Medic!" The cry echoes through the forest, but sound plays strange tricks in the frozen air and dense fog. Sometimes the calls seem to come from everywhere at once. Other times, they're swallowed by the snow, never reaching those who could help. In one foxhole, a replacement soldier panics during the barrage, attempting to flee. Sergeant Randleman tackles him back into the hole. "Are you trying to get yourself killed?" Randleman growls. "We're all going to die anyway," the replacement sobs. "The trees are exploding. The fucking trees are exploding." "Get a grip, soldier," Randleman orders. "That's tree bursts. Artillery hitting the canopy. Stay in your hole. You've got a chance. Run, and you're dead for certain." "I can't do this," the replacement whispers, his eyes wild with fear. "I can't. I want to go home." Randleman grabs him by the collar. "Look at me. Look at me. We all want to go home. But right now this hole is home. This division is home. And we don't run out on our home. You understand me?" The replacement nods jerkily, still trembling but no longer trying to escape. "Good," Randleman says, releasing him. "Now keep your head down and pray those kraut gunners get frostbite on their trigger fingers." Doc Rowe crawls from foxhole to foxhole, his medical bag growing lighter with each casualty. "I'm almost out of everything," he tells Lieutenant Winters. "Bandages, sulfa, morphine. Men are starting to freeze to death in their foxholes." "Do what you can," Winters says. "That's all any of us can do now." Rowe nods, then hesitates. "Sir, there's something else. Some of the men are showing signs of, I don't know what to call it. Their minds are going, talking nonsense, seeing things that aren't there." "Exposure," Winters says grimly. "Cold, fear, exhaustion. It affects the mind eventually." "What do I do for that?" Winters has no answer. "Just keep them talking. Keep them focused on staying alive." Rowe moves on, crawling through the snow to the next position. He finds Private Webster huddled in his foxhole, muttering to himself. "Webster?" Rowe says cautiously. "You okay?" Webster looks up, his eyes unnervingly bright. "Did you know snow has a voice, Doc?" Rowe's concern deepens. "What do you mean?" "It speaks. Listen." Webster tilts his head as if hearing something. "It's telling us we're already dead. We died when we first came here, and this is purgatory." "That's just the wind, Webster, and you're not dead." Rowe checks the man's pulse, which is weak but steady. "When did you last eat something?" Webster shrugs. "What does it matter? Food for the dead." "You need to eat," Rowe insists, pulling a D-ration chocolate bar from his pocket. "Here, it's my last one." Webster stares at it blankly. "Eat it," Rowe orders. "That's a medical directive, Private." Mechanically, Webster unwraps the bar and takes a bite. The simple act of eating seems to bring him back to reality somewhat. "Thanks, Doc," he murmurs. "I don't know what came over me." "Cold," Rowe says simply. "It gets inside your head after a while. Don't listen to it." The Germans attack at dawn on December 21, tanks and infantry emerging from the fog like specters. Machine gun fire tears through the frozen forest, kicking up plumes of snow. American bazookas answer, their backblast creating brief, surreal patterns in the mist. "They're coming through the draw," someone shouts. Men scramble to reposition, their movements slow and clumsy from the cold. Weapons jam in the freezing temperatures. Fingers are too numb to properly aim. Corporal Henry Davis watches in horror as a German tank crushes a foxhole containing 2 American soldiers who couldn't evacuate in time. The ice-crusted ground offers no protection against 60 tons of steel. The screams are mercifully brief. "Jesus Christ," Davis whispers, his words freezing in the air before him. Next to him, Private Mills frantically works the bolt on his rifle. "It's frozen. The goddamn firing pin is frozen." "Use your bayonet," Davis shouts as German infantry advances behind the tanks. A nearby machine gun opens up, cutting down the first wave of German soldiers. The bodies fall in the snow, dark stains spreading beneath them. But more follow, ghostly figures in white camouflage. "I can't tell who's alive and who's dead out there," Mills says, finally getting his rifle working. "They all look the same." "If it's moving, shoot it," Davis replies grimly. The firefight intensifies. Men scream coordinates and warnings to each other. The wounded drag themselves back toward the American lines, leaving trails of scarlet in the pristine snow. Some don't make it, collapsing halfway and slowly disappearing under fresh snowfall. Anonymous lumps in a growing graveyard. Lieutenant Compton rallies a group of men for a counterattack. "We have to push them back from the line," he shouts over the gunfire. "They break through here, we're all dead." "We're all dead anyway," someone responds. "It's suicide to leave cover." "That's an order, Private," Compton snaps. "On my signal, we move." 10 men follow him over the edge of their foxholes. 3 are cut down immediately. The rest somehow reach a fallen tree, taking cover behind it. "Grenades," Compton orders. "Make them count." The men pull pins and hurl their grenades toward the advancing Germans. The explosions kick up plumes of snow and dirt, momentarily halting the enemy advance. "Now, push forward." Compton leads the charge toward a small rise, hoping to establish a better defensive position. Private Schmidt, running beside him, takes a bullet to the thigh and falls. "I'm hit," he cries, clutching his leg as blood pumps between his fingers, steaming in the cold air. "Keep moving," Compton orders the others. "I'll get him." He turns back, dragging Schmidt toward the rise as bullets kick up snow around them. "Hang on," he grunts. "Almost there." "Leave me," Schmidt gasps. "I'm slowing you down." "Shut up and crawl, soldier." Somehow they reach the relative safety of the rise. The counterattack succeeds in pushing back the German advance, but at a heavy cost. Of the 10 men who followed Compton, only 4 remain unwounded. The attack is eventually repelled, but at heavy cost. Ammunition is critically low. The wounded crowd the makeshift aid stations throughout the town, and the siege is only beginning. As night falls, the temperature drops even further. The men rotate watches, no one daring to sleep for more than 30 minutes at a time for fear of freezing to death. They shake each other awake, sometimes violently when a comrade seems too still. "Jackson, wake up!" Private Martin shakes his foxhole partner roughly. "Come on, man, open your eyes." Jackson's eyelids flutter. "5 more minutes," he mumbles. "No minutes," Martin insists. "You sleep, you die, remember? Now move your arms, get the blood flowing." Jackson complies sluggishly, beating his arms against his chest. "Can't feel my feet," he says dully. "Take off your boots." "What? That's crazy." "Take them off," Martin repeats. "We need to check for frostbite." Reluctantly, Jackson removes his boots. His socks are frozen to his skin. Martin carefully helps him peel them away, revealing white, waxy skin beneath. "How bad is it?" Jackson asks, not looking down. Martin forces a neutral expression. "Not too bad. Early stages. We need to warm them up." He takes off his own scarf, tearing it into strips. "I'm going to wrap them, and then you need to put your boots back on. Keep wiggling your toes, even if you can't feel them." "Am I going to lose them?" Jackson's voice cracks. "My toes?" "Not if I can help it," Martin says with more confidence than he feels. "Now shut up and let me work." December 22nd, 1944, 11:30. A group of German officers appears under a white flag along the southern perimeter. They are escorted to McAuliffe's headquarters with a written ultimatum. To the USA, commander of the encircled town of Bastogne, the fortune of war is changing. This time the USA, Forces in and near Bastogne have been encircled by strong German armored units. There is only one possibility to save the encircled USA troops from total annihilation. That is, the honorable surrender of the encircled town. The German note promises that Americans who surrender will be treated according to the Geneva Convention and warns of annihilation by artillery if they refuse. They give McAuliffe 2 hours to decide. When informed of the surrender demand, McAuliffe's immediate reaction is one of disbelief. "Us surrender? Oh, nuts," he exclaims. Colonel Kennard, his operations officer, grins. "That's telling 'em, General." McAuliffe looks confused. "What?" "Your answer to the surrender demand. Nuts. It couldn't be better." The other officers in the room nod in agreement. McAuliffe considers for a moment, then shrugs. "If that's what you all think, then that's my answer." He writes it out on a piece of paper. To the German commander, nuts, the American commander. When Colonel Harper delivers this response to the German officers, they appear confused. "What does this nuts mean?" one of them asks. Harper stares at him coldly. "It means go to hell. Now get moving while you still can." As the Germans depart, one of Harper's men asks, "Think they'll really annihilate us, sir?" Harper watches the German officers disappear into the fog. "They'll try, but they've been trying since we got here. Any chance of reinforcements? Patton's supposedly coming, but until then, we're on our own." The German artillery response is swift and merciless. Shells pound Bastogne throughout the afternoon and into the night. Buildings collapse. Fires rage despite the snow. Civilians huddle in cellars as their homes are destroyed above them. In the Bois Jacques, Easy Company endures wave after wave of German infantry attacks. The temperature drops further. Men fire until their weapons freeze, then fight with knives, entrenching tools, even their bare hands. Private First Class Albert Coleman hasn't slept in 36 hours. His eyes burn from the strain of constant vigilance. The cold has penetrated so deeply that he no longer feels it, a dangerous sign. He doesn't notice when his foxhole partner speaks to him. "Coleman, wake up, goddammit!" Coleman blinks, confused. Had he been sleeping? He can't remember. "You fall asleep here, you never wake up," his partner warns. "Keep moving. Keep talking." Coleman nods numbly, but it's getting harder to care. The cold is so absolute, so complete, that death begins to seem like a warm embrace. He shakes his head violently, forcing himself to focus. Not today. Not in this frozen hell. "Talk to me," his partner insists, shaking him again. "Tell me about home." "Home?" Coleman repeats, as if the word is foreign to him. "Yeah, home. Where are you from?" Coleman stares into the distance. "Wisconsin. Dairy farm. Funny, huh? I thought I knew cold. What's your mother like?" She makes the best apple pie in the county. Won the state fair 3 years running." "Yeah? What's her secret?" Coleman smiles faintly. "Cardamom, just a pinch. Everyone always tries to figure it out, but she never tells." "You're going to have that pie again," his partner says firmly. "You hear me? But you have to stay awake." In another sector of the perimeter, Sergeant Guarnier and Private Babe Heffron, both from South Philadelphia, keep watch together. "Remember Mancini's bakery on 9th Street? Heffron asks suddenly. "Christ, are you trying to torture me?" Guarnieri groans. "I'm starving as it is. Those cannolis, Bill. Remember those cannolis?" "Shut up about the goddamn cannolis." Heffron grins despite the cold. "When we get home, first thing we do is go to Mancini's. My treat." "You're on," Guarnieri says. "If we get home." "When," Heffron corrects. "When we get home." A shell whistles overhead, exploding somewhere behind them. Neither man flinches anymore. They've grown accustomed to the constant bombardment. "You know what's strange?" Heffron says after a while. "I can't remember what warm feels like. Isn't that weird? Like, I know I've been warm before, but I can't actually remember the sensation." Guarnieri looks at him sharply. "Don't talk like that." "Like what?" "Like you're giving up. That's how it starts. First you forget what warm feels like. Then you start thinking you'll never be warm again. And then, "I'm not giving up," Heffron interrupts. "Just making an observation." Well, observe something else, Gornier says gruffly, like those Kraut machine gun positions we need to take out tomorrow. December 23 brings a brief respite. The fog lifts, allowing Allied aircraft to drop supplies to the besieged town. Parachutes bloom against the gray sky, bringing ammunition, food, and medical supplies. Men cheer as the first planes appear, a reminder that they haven't been forgotten. The drops are a mixed blessing. While they bring desperately needed supplies, they also attract German artillery. Shells rain down on the drop zones, killing men as they rush to collect the precious containers. "Stay back until the barrage stops," Lieutenant Peacock orders as his men try to run for the supplies. "The Krauts will take them if we wait," a sergeant argues. "Better them than you." "Those are orders." Eventually, the barrage subsides enough for recovery teams to venture out. They return with ammunition, medical supplies, and even a few crates of chocolate bars and cigarettes. Small luxuries that mean more to the men's morale than any medal or commendation. In the town's main aid station, the new medical supplies bring a surge of frantic activity. Surgeons who had been forced to operate without anesthesia now have morphine. Wounds that couldn't be properly cleaned can now receive treatment. "It's not enough," a nurse tells Captain Jones as they inventory the supplies, "but it's something." "Enough to keep going another day," Jones agrees, "and sometimes that's all you can ask for." But the German attacks continue. Tank columns probe the American defenses, searching for weaknesses. Infantry follow, white-clad soldiers nearly invisible against the snow. "I can't tell where they end and the snow begins," Private Jackson says, squinting through his rifle sights. "It's like fighting ghosts. If it's moving, shoot it," Sergeant Grant advises. "Sort it out later." "What if it's one of ours?" Grant's expression is grim. "Our guys know better than to move around out there without identifying themselves first." A flare bursts overhead, casting an eerie red glow over the landscape. For a brief moment, the snow appears blood-soaked, a premonition of the battle to come. "There," Jackson whispers, "3 o'clock. See them?" Grant nods. "Wait until they're closer. Ammunition's still too precious to waste." They wait in silence as the German patrol creeps forward, apparently unaware of the American position. The cold numbs Jackson's trigger finger. He blows on it, trying to restore sensation. "Steady," Grant murmurs. "Not yet." The Germans are 30 yards away now. 20. 10. "Now," Grant orders. Their rifles crack in unison. 2 Germans fall immediately. The others dive for cover, returning fire blindly. Bullets whiz overhead as Jackson and Grant duck down in their foxhole. "Think we got them all?" Jackson asks after a moment of silence. "Only one way to find out," Grant replies, raising his head cautiously to peer over the edge. A single shot rings out. Grant slumps back, blood streaming from a gash along his temple. "Grant!" Jackson cries, pulling him down. "Medic! I need a medic here." Grant's eyes flutter. "Just creased me," he mumbles. "I'm okay." "The hell you are," Jackson says, examining the wound. "You're bleeding like a stuck pig." "Head wounds always bleed a lot," Grant insists. "Just wrap it up and I'll be fine." Jackson tears a strip from his already tattered undershirt and binds the wound as best he can. "You need to get to an aid station." "And leave you alone? Not a chance." Before Jackson can argue further, another volley of German fire rakes their position. Both men press themselves into the bottom of the foxhole, ice and dirt showering down on them as bullets tear through the lip of their shelter. "I think they found us," Grant says with grim humor. "No kidding," Jackson responds, reaching for a grenade. "Let's return the favor." In Bastogne itself, conditions deteriorate. Buildings damaged by artillery offer little protection against the cold. Civilians and wounded soldiers crowd into cellars and any intact structures. Disease spreads quickly in the cramped conditions. The stench of gangrene, unwashed bodies, and death permeates every shelter. A young Belgian mother approaches an American medic, cradling a feverish child. "Please," she begs in halting English. "My son, he is very sick." The medic examines the boy, his face grim. "Pneumonia, almost certainly." Without proper medicine and warmth, the child's chances are slim. He gives the woman the last of his sulfa powder, knowing it's probably not enough. Keep him warm, he advises, the inadequacy of his words bitter in his mouth. Try to find a cellar near a kitchen fire. She nods gratefully and disappears into the ruins of the town, another ghost in a city of the dying. In a basement shelter beneath what was once a school, 30 civilians huddle around a small stove that provides more psychological comfort than actual heat. Among them is an elderly man who coughs continuously, the sound wet and ominous in the close air. He needs a doctor, a woman whispers to the American sergeant who checks on them periodically. They're all with the wounded soldiers, the sergeant replies. I'll see if one can come when things quiet down. The woman's eyes flash with momentary anger. And when will that be? My father is dying. The sergeant has no answer. The old man will likely be dead by morning, another nameless casualty of a war he didn't start and couldn't escape. I'll bring more blankets, the sergeant promises, knowing it's inadequate, and hot water if I can find any. The woman's expression softens slightly. Thank you. You are doing what you can. The sergeant nods and leaves, stepping over sleeping forms as he makes his way to the door. Outside, the artillery has started again. A constant, distant thunder that has become the heartbeat of Bastogne. Christmas Eve, 1944. The siege has lasted 5 days. The men of the 101st Airborne huddle in their foxholes, thoughts turning to homes and families they may never see again. Some sing carols in hushed voices. Others sit in numb silence. Lieutenant Winters makes his rounds, checking on his men. Many have frostbite. All are exhausted. Their uniforms, unwashed for days, are stiff with frozen blood and sweat. Eyes peer out from faces blackened by dirt and gunpowder, nearly unrecognizable. Merry Christmas, sir, croaks a private as Winters passes his position. Merry Christmas, soldier, Winters replies, his voice steady despite everything. Hang tough, we'll get through this. But as he moves on to the next foxhole, Winters wonders if he's lying. The cold is an enemy more relentless than any German division. It never retreats, never sleeps, never shows mercy. In one foxhole, Private Christensen unwraps a small package, his last chocolate bar, saved for this moment. What are you doing? His foxhole partner asks. It's Christmas Eve, Christensen replies simply. My mother always gave us chocolate on Christmas Eve. He breaks the bar in half, offering a piece. Merry Christmas. The gesture, so small yet so profound in its normalcy, brings unexpected tears to the other man's eyes. Thanks, he says gruffly, accepting the chocolate. Merry Christmas. Throughout the perimeter, similar scenes play out. Men share hoarded cigarettes, the last pieces of candy, even extra socks. Precious gifts in a place where warm, dry feet can mean the difference between life and amputation. In Bastogne, McAuliffe issues a Christmas message to his troops. What's merry about all this, you ask? We're fighting, it's cold, we aren't home. All true, but what has the proud Eagle Division accomplished with its worthy comrades? Just this. We have stopped cold everything that has been thrown at us. We are giving our country and our loved ones at home a worthy Christmas present, and being privileged to take part in this gallant feat of arms, are truly making for ourselves a Merry Christmas. The words ring hollow in the frozen ruins of Bastogne, but they give the men something to hold on to, a reminder of why they endure this frozen nightmare. In the aid station, a chaplain leads a brief Christmas Eve service. Wounded men who can still move gather around, joined by medical personnel taking a rare break from their endless work. Our Father, who art in heaven, the chaplain begins, his breath visible in the cold air of the church. The men join in, voices weak but determined. Some cry silently, overcome by memories of Christmases past and the stark contrast to their current reality. After the prayer, the chaplain looks out at the assembled men, bandaged, broken, but unbowed. I won't pretend to know why we're here, he says quietly, why we're suffering in this place, on this holy night. But I know this, we're not alone, not in our faith and not in our fight. Look around you, these are your brothers. And no matter what tomorrow brings, that brotherhood cannot be broken, not by Germans, not by cold, not even by death itself. A private raises his hand. Father, do you think anyone at home remembers us? The chaplain smiles. I'd wager there's not a Christmas tree in America without at least one prayer hanging on it for the men of Bastogne. Christmas Day dawns with renewed German attacks. The Luftwaffe bombs the town, collapsing buildings and cratering streets. Civilians who had survived the siege thus far are buried in the rubble of their homes. Rescue teams dig frantically, hands bleeding from the cold and debris, but many are beyond saving. In the forest, the men of Easy Company repel yet another infantry assault. Their ammunition is so low that officers order them to retrieve bullets from the dead, both American and German. Strip every corpse you find, orders Lieutenant Dyke, his voice devoid of emotion. We need every round. The men comply, trying not to look at the faces of the frozen dead as they roll them over, searching for ammunition. The bodies are stiff as statues, preserved by the cold in their final moments of agony or surprise. This ain't war, mutters Private Muck as he pries a clip from a dead German's rigid fingers. This is something else, something worse. War is war, says Sergeant Randleman nearby. There's no worse or better, just different ways of dying. You ever seen anything like this? Muck challenges. Men freezing to death in their sleep? Bodies stacking up like cordwood because the ground's too frozen to bury them? Randleman is silent for a moment. No, he admits finally. Nothing like this. Nearby, Private Perconte searches a fallen German officer, finding a wallet in the man's pocket. He opens it, revealing photos of a woman and two small children. Christ, he mutters, quickly closing the wallet and putting it back. They're just like us. No, they're not, Sergeant Lipton says, overhearing as he passes. They're trying to kill us. We're trying to kill them. That's the only thing that matters right now. Yes, Sergeant, Perconte says, but his expression remains troubled as he continues his grim task. The temperature drops again as night falls. The coldest Christmas in memory becomes the coldest night of the siege. Exposed skin freezes in minutes. Men lose fingers to frostbite. Others simply don't wake up, their bodies surrendering to the cold during brief moments of sleep. In one foxhole, Private Shifty Powers keeps watch while his companion sleeps. The night is eerily silent. No artillery, no machine gun fire, not even the distant sound of vehicles moving. Just the occasional crack of a tree branch breaking under the weight of snow. Powers spots movement at the edge of the clearing before them. He raises his rifle, then hesitates. It's a young deer, picking its way cautiously through the snow, seemingly oblivious to the war raging around it. For a moment, Powers is transfixed by the surreal sight, this innocent creature wandering through a landscape of death. He could shoot it, fresh meat would be welcome, but he finds he can't pull the trigger. Something about destroying this small piece of normalcy, of nature continuing despite mankind's best efforts to destroy everything, stops him. The deer moves on, disappearing into the darkness. Powers lowers his rifle, oddly comforted by the encounter. Life goes on. Somewhere beyond this frozen hell, the world continues to turn. Dawn breaks on December 26. The horizon to the southwest erupts with the sound of tank fire. But this time, it's different. American tanks from General Patton's Third Army have broken through the German lines, driving toward Bastogne. They're coming! Our guys are coming! The word spreads through the American lines, bringing new energy to men who had nothing left to give. By afternoon, the 1st Sherman tanks of the 4th Armored Division break through to Bastogne, ending the siege after 7 days. The relief is tangible, but the battle is far from over. The 101st will remain in combat for weeks more, driving the Germans back through the Ardennes. As the tanks roll into town, civilians emerge from their shelters, some for the first time in days. They cheer the American forces, offering what little they have, sometimes just gratitude and tears. An old Belgian man grabs the hand of a passing American sergeant, pressing a bottle of wine into it. "For Christmas," he says in halting English. "For life." The sergeant accepts the gift, though he knows the wine is probably the man's most valuable possession. "Thank you," he says simply, unable to find more adequate words. The price is steep. 341 men of the 101st killed, 1,691 wounded, 516 missing. Many more bear invisible scars, memories of that frozen hell that will haunt them for the rest of their lives. In the aid station, medics prepare the wounded for evacuation. Some will lose limbs to frostbite. Others will never fully recover from their wounds. But they are alive and going home. "Did you hear?" A young private with bandaged feet asked the medic, changing his dressings. "They're calling us the battered bastards of Bastogne now." The medic smiles tiredly. "Sounds about right." "We held, didn't we?" the private says, his voice catching. "We really held." "We did," the medic confirms, "against all odds." "Was it worth it?" The medic pauses, considering the question seriously. "Ask me in 50 years, he says finally, "when we know if the world we saved was worth saving." February 1945. The Battle of the Bulge is officially over. Hitler's last gamble has failed. The Allied lines, though bent, never broke. Bastogne held. The forests around the town bear mute testimony to the horror that unfolded there. Shell-blasted trees stand like skeletal sentinels. Abandoned equipment lies half buried in the melting snow. And foxholes, hundreds of them, remain carved into the earth, silent graves for the innocence of the men who occupied them. The 101st Airborne Division receives the first presidential unit citation ever awarded to an entire division. The citation reads in part, "By their gallant courage, dogged determination, and magnificent fighting spirit, the officers and men of the 101st embellished their record of previous achievements with a new and undying glory." But for those who survived Bastogne, no citation can capture what they endured. No words can describe the peculiar horror of that siege, the soul-crushing cold, the constant fear, the slow erosion of humanity as survival became the only objective. Private Eugene Rowe, the company medic who treated countless wounded during the siege, would later say, "The cold was worse than the Germans. You could hide from the Germans, you could fight the Germans. But the cold was everywhere. Inside your clothes, inside your bones, inside your mind. After a while, you couldn't remember what being warm felt like. You couldn't imagine ever being warm again." Lieutenant Winters, in his memoir years later, wrote, "The true heroes of Bastogne were the men in the foxholes, the ones who endured conditions that defied description, who fought not just an enemy they could see, but an enemy they could feel, the relentless, merciless cold. It stripped away everything but the most essential humanity. Some lost that humanity. Most somehow kept it, and that was the true miracle of Bastogne." In the decades that follow, survivors will gather in Bastogne to commemorate the battle. The town's mayor will throw nuts from the town hall balcony, celebrating McAuliffe's famous reply. Veterans will visit the foxholes where they fought and nearly died, now peaceful depressions in a quiet forest. But many will never return, some because they physically cannot bear the cold of a Belgian winter, others because the memories are too painful. The siege of Bastogne, the frozen hell they endured, remains with them always, a private horror that those who weren't there can never truly understand. Sergeant Carwood Lipton, interviewed for a documentary in 1991, summed it up. "People ask what was the worst part of the war for me, and they expect me to talk about Normandy or Holland, but it was Bastogne. Always Bastogne. Because in combat, you're fighting against men, other humans with the same weaknesses, the same fears. But in Bastogne, we were fighting against nature itself. And nature doesn't care. It doesn't take prisoners. It doesn't honor white flags. It doesn't recognize surrender. It just kills, slowly and without mercy." Today, Bastogne stands as a memorial to that terrible winter of 1944-45. Monuments and museums tell the story of the siege, but the true legacy lives in the nightmares of old men who still wake, shivering on winter nights, haunted by the memory of a cold so profound it seemed to freeze not just their bodies, but their very souls. The horror of Bastogne wasn't in dramatic last stands or heroic charges. It was in the slow, grinding struggle against conditions that no human being should have to endure. It was in watching friends die, not from bullets, but from exposure. It was in the realization that nature itself can be as merciless as any human enemy. As one veteran put it decades later, people ask if I believe in hell. I tell them I've already been there. It was called Bastogne. Thank you for listening. If you are also proud of the bravery of our soldiers, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on new historical stories.